How are we doing this evening? Yes. I love how everybody except me decided to sit on the side over here. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's great. Let me grab this real quick. We are starting a new series. No? Okay. Just me. We are now after Easter. We are now after... How many people knew today was not Easter? Raise your hand. Okay. Only half the people. Only half the people raise their hand. We are beyond Easter, meaning we need to start looking at some different things that happen after Easter. Specifically, when Jesus rises from the dead, he doesn't just rise, say, what's going on, and hit the road back to heaven. Instead, he lingers. He sticks around. He talks to people. He visits people. He's modeling for us, and he's done it with his entire life. And we're going to look at his entire life on earth just to show exactly how we as a church should live. So we are going to be starting this empty series. Not to say that it's empty of content, but that the tomb is empty and that we no longer have to live empty lives because we have Christ and Christ has risen again. So let's get started. So I want you to think about a specific time of year, okay? I think most people in this room have felt this, or if you're too young, you will feel it. Think about Thanksgiving Day, okay? Wonderful time of family gathering and eating great food, unless you are the person hosting and making the food. Then it is a hectic, chicken with your head cut off type scenario. You are having to tend to this turkey because it is the lifeblood of this event, right? And if you're not cooking, if you're not in the kitchen with the stuffing and the turkey and all that stuff, then you are preparing the house for the ton of family members to come in, right? You are getting out the metal chairs you see once a year and have to dust all the spiders. Maybe this is just me. This is my family. Maybe. But I think we can relate to this. But not only that, how many people have a kitchen table that is expandable? Okay? Or have ever had one? Okay? You put the leaves in there. And sometimes those are not attached to the table, folded up in some nice origami-like fashion. So you got to go remember where you put the leaves from last Thanksgiving, right? So you got to go scramble, find those, and then you got to remember how the darn thing goes together, just to make your table big enough for all of the family, right? And of course, once all that's over, you pray, you enjoy time with family, and you eat a great meal. Hopefully it's great at least. Hopefully you didn't burn the turkey. But Thanksgiving, this meal, this event, this time of gathering people and welcoming people to our table, even expanding our table, is exactly what we're going to talk about this morning. Jesus welcomes us to his table. He makes all the room that is needed for us at his table. He gets all the leaves he needs to finish the dining room table off, and then some. He was a carpenter after all. He could probably just make some more. But Jesus welcomes us, all of us. He welcomes everyone to his table. And this morning, I'm going to tell us that we need to welcome all to our table. 6 feet apart, of course, for now. In Luke chapter 15, we have this short little 2-verse passage about Jesus. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus, but the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Duh. Of course, we all know that we needed Jesus because he is the doctor and we were the sick. We know that. But the Pharisees saw Jesus as this guy who was associating with the low level of society, with the untouchables, with the people that did not associate with the law. And of course, the Pharisees are the rulers of the law, they're the people that know the law the best. We remember that from last Saturday, talking about what a great bunch of people we had representing us so long ago, yelling out, crucify him, right? Great representation. There's a Congress joke in there somewhere. I'm just not going to go there, okay? Just not going to go there. So what exactly is the overall arching picture of these two verses? What is the overall arching image of Jesus that we get from these two verses, as well as so many other countless stories of him inviting people into his home? We're going to go through a few questions here, okay? All right. What did Jesus do? He welcomed people. And he didn't just welcome. He didn't just welcome one group of people, okay? He didn't just welcome the sinners and the tax collectors. And, you know, there is a joke there. Tax collectors and sinners, they're separate, but considered the same. Just saying. Taxes. I know we all love taxes, right? Okay, great. Jesus doesn't just invite the tax collectors and the sinners and those that are on the margins, those that the Pharisees say, do not associate with those people. Jesus also invites the Pharisees. Jesus also invites other Jewish members of the community. Jesus invites his disciples. Jesus invites women, which could be a problem in Israel around this time. But Jesus invites everyone. He's not picking and choosing who he wants to invite. He's not picking who he wants to welcome. He's picking everyone. He's saying, come to my table and let me get to know you. Let me show you who I am. How did Jesus welcome people? He spent time with people in relationship. He didn't just say, yo, come to my service at 10:45 a.m. Great. Shake a few hands. Not anymore. Meet a few people, 6 feet apart, of course, and come sit in a comfortable auditorium in groups of 2 and 3. That's right now. I'll take right now out. Okay? We say, come to church. Come to Bible study. Come to whatever the event is. And it is a great way to get people into the church building. It's not necessarily the most effective tool for getting people into the kingdom. Because what does it take? What does it really take? Jesus models it for us right here. He says, in relationship. He invites people to his table. He eats with them. And I don't know if you've ever let's put this in our context for a second. You have a Super Bowl party at your house, okay? And nobody's watching the Super Bowl. Everybody's talking. Everybody is talking about what's going on in life, what's going on with their family, all of these different things. That's building relationships. That's in our context. We are to welcome all to our table, not just those that are already our friends, already Christians, or family. We need to invite people who are far from Jesus. Because how are they going to get to know Jesus? There's a famous quote, "You may be the only Jesus that people see." You may be the only Jesus that people see. And how exactly are you representing that Christ? How are you representing Jesus like that? We need to welcome all. We need to build relationships with people. Why did Jesus build relationships with people? Because he loves people. And I think this gets at the root of something that as a church we have fallen very, very short on. And it's actually loving people. Actually loving people. I'm not saying the organization Awake, I'm not saying the building, the church, whatever. I'm saying us as people. We have neglected to love our neighbors. we have neglected to love our neighbor. Because what does it mean to really love your neighbor? It means to invite them to a meal. It means inviting them to sit down at a fire pit. It means sitting down at the village inn, having a meal, laughing, talking, getting to know one another, playing a sport. I don't know. Help me out here. How do you build a relationship with somebody? You spend time in proximity with one another. Whatever the activity is, that's what Jesus did. He placed his presence in people's lives, and lives were changed. Right? That's really it. As soon as people see the presence of Jesus, their lives begin to transform, for the good or the bad. When you see Jesus, you are brought to this choice. You are brought to this time. And as the church, we are to welcome all people to our table so that they could get a glimpse of our amazing Jesus. Jesus went out on his whole time living on earth, welcoming all kinds of people. The book of Matthew is written by a guy named, go figure, Matthew, who was one of them dirty tax collectors. Shame on him. But without Jesus interjecting his presence in Matthew's life, Matthew would still be scum. He would still be considered by all to be a dirty, rotten traitor. Because, breaking down tax collectors for a second, tax collectors were Jewish citizens of Rome who decided to get very rich by collecting taxes for Rome. So if you think about it, Rome was occupying Judea at the time. So Rome is the oppressor. And Rome is asking Jewish citizens to collect taxes from other Jewish citizens. So as a tax collector, you are a dirty, rotten scoundrel because you are helping the oppressor tax your neighbors. That's what a tax collector is. That's what Zacchaeus was before he met Jesus. That's who Matthew was before he met Jesus. Because when Jesus comes into your life, his presence changes you. And for the Pharisees, it changed for the bad. Because what did they do? They rejected Jesus as often as possible. When we welcome people in, there will be rejection. There will be stumbling blocks. There will be effort expended that doesn't result to anything. But it is not our job to save anyone. It's not our job to be the one to sacrifice our lives for sin. Jesus has already done that. Jesus has already done the saving work. What is our job now? It's just to be open. Just to be open. And to welcome people to have an experience with Jesus. Not just on Sunday morning or Saturday night. Not just on Wednesday night. Not even just at a DNA group. Even though I would think a DNA group is a more accurate place that people could come in and meet and encounter Jesus. It takes spending time one-on-one with people. I know we have jobs, we have responsibilities, we have kids we got to pick up from school, we got volunteer hours, whatever it is. We all are busy, right? This is literally, right now, nobody has an excuse. Nobody has an excuse not to be engaging with our neighbors. Stay 6 feet apart and engage with your neighbor. You can have a great conversation with someone 6 feet apart, right? Okay. Far enough away from somebody that you are not spitting when you're talking, because I spit when I talk, so I'll stay 6 feet apart from you, okay? Engage with people. Do something. As the country begins to open back up, as we begin to see the wheels of the economy start to spin back up and we make America great again, as we see all that going on and happening all the time, let's engage people. Because this shutdown that we're experiencing right now has hurt people. Some people don't have the resources, the finances to weather. So when the storm is over, check in on people. Check in on your neighbor. Check in on them right now, 6 feet apart. Check in on your neighbors now. Who's your neighbor? The classic Christian question. Who is your neighbor? Everyone is your neighbor. Everyone is your neighbor. Engage with people. There are opportunities every single day that go right by, that we miss. Why? Because love is something that is not just a one-time event. It's not set on Sunday morning. It's not set on Saturday night. It is something that comes out of us. Love should emit from us, if you will. Because Jesus loved all people and Jesus welcomed all people. And that's what we need to do. We need to love. We need to seek opportunities to love others. Really, we do. Because it's so easy to say, love one another. And I'm sure when Jesus said it, love one another, and that's how the world will know that you are my disciples. When he said that, that's kind of big, Jesus. What do we do with that love stuff? What does that concretely look like? Jesus modeled it his entire life. So if you really want to know what it's like to love, read about Jesus in the Gospels. He invited tax collectors and sinners to his home. He walked with people. He talked with people. He healed people. He experienced real life pain with other people. And that's when I think most of us get right. When somebody hurts, we jump in. When somebody hurts, we jump in. When our neighbor's house catches fire, what do? We organize the entire group of amazing chefs and set a meal time every day of the week until they get back on their feet. We do things in people's pain. But when people aren't in pain, what are we doing? How are we reaching people? How are we loving people? How are we welcoming people to Jesus? Jesus welcomes us to his table. His long, long table. I don't know about you, but my table's about 6 foot by 4 foot. I can invite more people in. I can invite my neighbors in. I can invite the 18 to 20-year-old who let his dog off the leash while I was walking my dog to where they came teeth to teeth. I can invite that 20-something-year-old into our home to enjoy a meal. We can invite college students. We can invite other people to our homes, and we should. We should. Just don't do it in a creepy way. Okay? Don't offer any candy. You come to my house. You get in my van. We'll go right now. Don't do that. But invite people in. We all do things outside of church, work, school, family. We do stuff outside of that. Use those places to welcome others. I don't know why people do this, but people go to the gym, I guess. It's a myth. I hear it all the time. There's these places called gyms, and people are in it, and they run on a treadmill, whatever that means. But the gym is a wonderful place to welcome people. Because, and I wouldn't know because I don't go to the gym, but I hear all these stories about, I was at the gym, and there was this guy who had been there for months. And we just had these little conversations, and then boom, all of a sudden he's painting the walls at the church after giving his life over to Jesus just because that person was constantly talking to them at the gym and building a relationship. Jesus welcomes us all. Let us then welcome all people, no matter where it is. I'm challenging you, church in here, and you, church watching online. I'm challenging you to get creative with building relationships. Because it's really easy for me to stand up here and say, welcome other people, love one another. Okay? It takes you, it takes me, it takes us to come up with what that means. Because if you're here for me to just spoon feed you everything without any level of critical thinking, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Because that's extra work for me, and I'm not going to do extra work. Sorry. We have to get creative. We have to get creative with how we are reaching and building relationships. As the worship team comes forward for our final song of the evening, I want to challenge you. When Jesus left the tomb, he was constantly in relationship with other people. He was constantly meeting people. He was constantly seeing people. He was constantly welcoming people, even after he rose from the dead. I think this is the shortest I've ever preached here, just so you're clear. But the message is really simple. Jesus welcomed all. Jesus welcomes all. And now we must welcome others. We must welcome the people in who don't have anyone. We need to welcome in the people who are far from Jesus. We need to welcome in our friends and our family. We need to welcome in the people in our lives, whether it's people we've known for a long time or people we run into at Walmart, or if you're not a Walmart shopper, Publix. We have opportunities every single day in interacting with people. And I understand that might not be true right now when the country reopens. So prepare yourself for that time. Prepare yourself to welcome in the stranger. Whatever that looks like for you. Jesus welcomes all. So we need to welcome all. Because I don't know where you were on the collector and disciple spectrum. Not a disciple when Jesus welcomed me. I was a sinner. I was on this side. But Jesus welcomed me to his table. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you so much for your sacrifice on the cross. Thank you so much for what you have done for us and what you continue to do. Jesus, you welcomed us while we were still sinners, while we were still broken, while we were still ugly and disgusting. God, you called us to your table. You welcomed us in with open arms. Jesus, now, as we are welcomed to the table and as we are at the table, let us now invite others to the table. Let us experience opportunities, God, to have lives transformed right before our eyes by your Holy Spirit's power. Let us go to Publix. Let us go to Five Guys, to McDonald's, God, to Family Dollar, to Big Lots, to God. And let our paths cross people who need to be welcomed to your table. Lord Jesus, we are yours, and let us be your hands and feet as more come to know you. Lord, we need you. And there is a hurting world that needs you desperately. Lord, we love you.